This is Professor Shastri, Professor of Law and Coordinator of the University Human Rights Education Program of the Savitribai Phule Pune University. I am happy that for the first time in the country, the Savitribai Phule Pune University has started this human rights education program to all in the year 2011. This program has been started in tune with the principles of the United Nations Human Rights Education Program, to which the Government of India is a party. In fact, the Government of Maharashtra in 2011 wanted to start human rights education across all the sectors in the state of Maharashtra. Hence, in tune with the objectives of the Government of Maharashtra, the Savitribai Phule Pune University has made this program compulsory across all the disciplines to all the students. According to this program, each student has to study 2 courses in their master's program, and they will be considered as add-on courses. And one special impact and feature of this program is that this program is compulsory to all the students. If a student fails to study any paper of this program, they will not be able to get their postgraduate degree in their respective field. However, their degree program will not be affected in any manner basing on the marks or grades in this program. With this unique feature, the university started and developed the course materials, for which I was the author, and I have prepared the materials, and we are now trying to upload the content, and soon we are planning to translate these materials into Marathi also. Because the aim of human rights and human rights education is to teach in the local language of the people, and that to fulfill that aim of the United Nations, this program will be introduced in the Marathi version also soon. In fact, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights was already translated into Marathi and circulated, and for the propagation a number of innovative steps have been taken by the university, and as a part of further propagation and to make it easy for the students to understand, we start this lecture series in human rights education subject wise, that is, we have 3 modules. So, these lectures will be of 3 modules. For each module there will be few lectures. These lectures will give an idea to the student what is not there in the book content. This will give an overall synchronization perspective. But before the lectures that are started with the course syllabus subject wise of course books 1, 2, 3, this will be an eye-opener general lecture on what human rights education, why we should study human rights education, what is the impact and importance of human rights education, and how we deal with human rights, and what are these human rights, and why basically everybody should study human rights, and what is the purpose of human rights education. So, some of these issues will be answered, because people, particularly when students come to the postgraduate level, when they study these papers, a science student or a humanities student or a social science student may generally think, why should I study human rights? What is the linkage that I have with these human rights? Are they going to be useful to me in any manner? Well, these issues have to be answered. So, at the outset, this lecture will discuss an overview very briefly on what is the significance of human rights education and what it impacts, what is its linkage, and how these aspects will be taken into consideration. And before going into the perspective of human rights education, let me explain to you that what are human rights, and are they rights given only to a particular community, or they given only to human beings, or what are exactly these rights are? Well, in the history of human rights, people talk of human rights right from ancient periods. But strictly speaking, from the legal point of view, human rights have taken birth in international law in the year 1945 with the adoption of the Charter of the United Nations. That is why we could see in the preamble of the Charter highlights that the purpose of the United Nations is to promote, protect human rights without any discrimination towards race, sex or religion or any other basis. So, if that being the case, so human rights as human beings we have, they are inalienable. That means they cannot be separated. They are indivisible, otherwise in a legal language, and they are interdependent. Interdependent in the sense that one's right is dependent on another's duty. So, that perspective has been extended further. So, human rights is an inspiration for the empowerment and dealt with, and a number of international declarations and conventions have been started, for which the Universal Declaration of Human Rights of 1948 was the first international declaration which advocated the perspectives of human rights very clearly. And from then onwards, all the declarations that have been, or the conventions, covenants, what are all entered both at the international level, national level, have been progressed. And today human rights have been progressed from the individualistic perspective to state and society centric. That is why today human rights definition cannot be confined that human rights are rights of human beings alone. They are called as group rights also, or otherwise in a legal perspective they are called as third generational rights. There are three types of generational. First generational are civil and political rights, which have been developed particularly to end the barbaric political regimes and to protect the people. The second generation rights are socio-economic rights. These rights have been developed to inform the state that its duty to protect the first generation rights, to remove the all inequalities. Then in the third generational rights, which are called as group rights, because of a number of aspects, these rights have been developed to see that both at the national and international level, states, individuals, legal persons, everybody possesses certain rights. But human rights highly and mainly deals with rights of human beings fully, whereas other sectors like states or legal persons, their rights are limited rights. With this brief introduction of what human rights are, now let me introduce you the significance of human rights education, its connectivity to various disciplines and society and the national, local, regional and at the international level, and its significance. Now, before we go into human rights education, we should understand education, because education is the manifestation of man, which we say always. Because education not only preserves as a treasure of knowledge and also secures material pleasure and happiness and fame, because we consider education is the teacher of teachers. It teaches us everything, every perspective in a clear, understandable perspective, how a human being should live in and how we should deal with the various perspectives. So, education secures the honor at the hands of the not money. As the Supreme Court of India quoted in Unnikrishnan versus State of Andhra Pradesh, a man without education is equal to animal. That clearly implies that education is the highly intellectual perspective which brings in lot of various aspects in the thinking power of the man and how they have to deal with it. And the same was advocated already, as we discussed in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, that education shall be directed to the full development of human personality and to the strengthening of a respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms. This same was advocated in the year 1993 by the World Conference on Human Rights. Education is the only base that can develop about human rights, because human rights cannot be taught without linking with various perspectives. Here, let me tell you friends, there is a misunderstanding of human rights education across the world, particularly even in academic fields, even among the lawyers and law teachers or law professors. Human rights means reading about the conventions and texts and international perspective is human rights education, but that is not human rights education. Human rights education is understand the society, nurture the values, bring in the perspectives of human being to help the human perspectives, and then transform the society into various perspectives, how we can deal human rights with respect to various perspectives. Then let me tell you what is human rights education. If we say simply, human rights education is all learning that develops the knowledge, skills and values of human being. This means, as the United Nations Decade for the Human Rights Education of 1905 to 2004 defined, it is a training, dissemination, information, efforts aimed at building of a universal culture of human rights through imparting knowledge and skills and the molding of attitudes. Now, from this simple definition, we can understand that human rights education is nothing but a literacy perspective to awaken the inner conscience that is there in man and to nurture the values, cultures, ethos, and see that no discriminatory practices are followed and adopted towards anybody. This is what human rights education is. It is not studying the text or studying anything, because human rights education starts right from home. When we took birth, in the mother's lap itself, human rights education develops, and that deals with various perspectives. Then is human rights education a human right? Well, human rights education itself is a fundamental human right and also a responsibility. This means the preamble of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, as already advocated, every individual, every organ of the society should strive to teach education to promote respect for the rights and freedoms. What are rights and freedoms again is a debatable issue, which we will see in the course of next set of lectures when we come. What are rights, what are freedoms, what are duties? That means every right advocates to us a particular kind of a duty. Only when we discharge the duty, the right will come and protect us. This is what has been advocated in the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, popularly called as ICCPR, that a government may not stand in the way of the people learning about their rights, which means the rights are inherent in the human being, not given by a constitution or by a law or by any other document. But then one may come or one may question that then why they have been written? They have been written for further propagation, practice, and to put it in an order that these are the rights that are there which needs to be extendable. For example, if we look into Article 21 of the Constitution of India, which speaks of life and liberty. But from the life and liberty, we gain a number of other rights which have been developed and dealt with various perspectives. So, when we talk of rights, responsibilities and action, they are all integral. They are integrated from one right to another right, because it is the right depends upon the responsibility. When we respect, when we defend, when we promote. That means every one of us as an individual and an organ of the society. Human rights education provides how to discharge your responsibilities carefully. In a democratic society, these rights are inseparable. So, in order to develop the democratic tenets and to people's active participation in a democracy, and to have a healthier democratic process of debate and discussion, human rights education develops the skills to speak and to act every day, how you can modulate and further progress the process of democracy. This is one important perspective. That means in a civilized society or in a democratic society, human rights definitely argue, advocate both positive and negative perspectives. But from the negative perspective also, we should take the positive perspective of thinking and see how we can develop a progressive society, make a sustainable development of the people, and to remove all inequalities like poverty, unemployment, and various other backwardness, all these aspects to be removed, for which human rights education will help how you can segregate these things and come as an individual and what should be your contribution to society. That means human rights education mainly provides a conflict-ridden society. That means there should not be conflicts. Even if there is a conflict in a society, try to settle those conflicts in a peaceful manner, because when I have a commitment, I have a personality. Well, when I think of equality, when I think of the equality of the other person, definitely there will be a clash of interest. So, in order to resolve those clash of interests and to analyze the differences that exist between the people in the society, human rights education teaches the skills of modulation, of settlement of disputes in a peaceful manner. Either you negotiate, sit together, or you mediate through some mediators, or develop a consensus building that how we can achieve what is good or bad. Number of examples can be cited for this. When we have a problem with the suppose in a municipal corporation or in a local locality, when a road is not there, instead of saying that road is not there, try to work out the problem, how to overcome that, and see that how we can resolve and make the authorities to work for the state and what your responsibility to the state. So, all these perspectives will be taught in human rights education. Then when we look into the core goals of human rights education, what are the goals of human rights education? The goals of human rights education are, first one is universality. It deals with universally, that means all human beings across the world are equal. There is no discrimination between anybody. Then there is no indivisibility. Either a child is there, or a parent is there, or an older person is there, or a socially deprived class person is there. For all of them the rights are equal. There is no any kind of discrimination that exists between them at any point of them. Then interdependence. This is another important perspective. Interdependence means it is the perspectives that deal with the people that each one is interdependent on the other person. If I suppose say I have a right, I have a freedom, I can do whatever I like this. Well, I have a freedom to move my hand as I like, but when it touches the nose of somebody, well, I have no right. That means I am interdependent on the right of the other person. I am telling in a simplistic perspective. Suppose if I want to have a pen, then I have to go to a pen shop and take a pen. The pen maker is important. That means in the society, everybody is important, nobody is unimportant. Everybody is important, every person is important. Human rights education promotes dignity of the individual, dignity of the labor, but not on false prestige issues which we see particularly in a society like India. We respect if it is a prime minister or somebody with the respect, even if you are a prime minister or you are a farmer, the dignity, the rights, the dependence level, your protection mechanism are equal to all of you. This is what the interdependency, universality, indivisibility are interconnected. The last is decision making and the peaceful resolution of conflicts. As I told you already that any problem is there, even if at home when we have a problem, a parent and a family will sit together and try to see and discuss the issues that what they want to resolve. This is what is been done at your home is done in the society. This is what has been done at the regional level between the states. And at the international level, all nation states will resolve their disputes, for which they have a mechanism called international law, under which they have United Nations and various other organs to deal with various perspectives that need to be taken into consideration. So, these are the core values. Well, people may say different values, different goals, but these are core values. Why I am calling? Because unity in diversity, diversity in unity is the main principle of human rights education. That means you may have different types of streams, you may have various types, but universality, individual perspective is one and the same. Then who needs human rights education? Why do we study human rights education? Well, everybody needs human rights education. If we look in, well, administration of justice, when law enforcement agencies like police, security forces, prison officials, lawyers, judges, prosecutors, everybody needs human rights education. You may ask, why human rights education to these people? They are lawyers. Well, they know only the constitutional perspective, constitutional goals. They may not know the interconnectivity with the other disciplines that they have, particularly a subject like law, which is normally considered as a social science. It is clubbed with social sciences. It is not a social science. Law is a science of sciences. That is why it is called as normative science. It lays down the norms and see how the norms works in and what are the perspectives that it deals with. It is a utilitarian science because it is utilized in a perspective that requires into various aspects. That means lawyers and judges should also understand what human rights education is. Then government and legislative officials, that means ministers and legislative members, government officials like IAS officers, IPS officers, all administrative bureaucracy, and members of the military, topmost military officers, not the Jawans serving at the border, but at the topmost decision making. They all should follow human rights because everybody, even during the war period or any other period, they should think of what human rights that they are going to organize. Professionals, when we think of educators like teachers, social workers, health professionals, journalists, media, representatives, everybody should know about human rights. Because only when we know of human rights, we will think of human rights perspectives in such manner that what are developed with respect to various perspectives. Organizations and associations. Well, there are number of organizations are there, women's organization, community, minority groups, members of the business community, indigenous people. So are various types of people are there. All of them need human rights, because at this juncture one may get a doubt. I am a consumer. Do I have a human right? Are consumer rights or human rights? Yes, consumer rights too are human rights. Every right is human right. Then there are other types of groups, vulnerable and disadvantaged groups. That means religious minorities, women and children, socially, economically disadvantaged people, refugees, displaced persons, people of different sexual orientations like third gender, and poor and migrant workers, people with disabilities. You name anybody, everybody needs human rights education. That is the reason why the United Nations has developed number of modules differently to be taught to everybody. Though we say 1995 to 2004 is the decade of human rights education, in 2011 the human rights significance has been realized by the world nations, and the member states requested the United Nations, no decade will work about human rights education, there should be a lifelong process. So in 2013, the United Nations General Assembly declared that human rights education is a lifelong process, it can't be any decade perspective to promote and develop. That shows human rights education is gaining more and more important. In fact, one may get why we have to study human rights education. Again, who needs human rights education? Friends, you must be surprised to know, even in a country like America, where we all look for the dollar currency and the most developed country and the most rich country, surveys clearly reveal that not more than 10% of the population are not aware of human rights education. If this is the situation of America, in a country like India, then how can we think of the significance of human rights education? So, the human rights education develops various perspectives, for which the modules that have been developed by United Nations in various perspectives, but I want to make it in a very simplistic fashion, how to teach. There are life study, non-formal methods, formal methods. One is a life study method. Life study means you observe the problems right from childhood and try to settle problems and see what rights that you have within that group. And group centric issues. A particular group may have certain issues which may not be related to another group. So, we should not mingle issues that are not connected from one group to another group. For example, if we take women's rights have a different conception, children's rights have a different conception. So, we should not mix children's rights, women's rights. This is what as group centric issues that with respect to particular group we have to see. Suppose if we in a classroom, if we see students, male students group, their rights, their perspectives, their objectives are different. Women or girl students, their perspective, their objectives are different. Then moral ethical perspectives, because law is developed being a normative science, utilitarian science, it deals with the moralistic behavior. People think that it is law is logic, it is not logic, it only develops the behavioral pattern, and basing on the behavioral pattern it develops the rules and regulations how to deal with it, for which we need to continuously educate people by doing brainstorming sessions, brainstorming perspectives, in which case we can develop these aspects of non-formal method. There are various other non-formal methods are there. When we come to various other perspectives of the coursework, I may give you more illustrations to that. Then formal methods are concerned, they are content and learning process. Then how to develop the content from elementary to university level, the content has to be developed. The UNESCO has developed ABC of human rights that can be taught at the elementary school level. Secondary school human rights education is different. High school level human rights education is different. At the undergraduate course level, human rights education is different. At university level, it should be research oriented, society oriented, and various other perspectives should be developed. Taking all these aspects, most of the human rights education programs have not succeeded because people have written jargons, legalistic perspectives. That is the reason why in Pune University, we have come out with the content in a simplistic perspective that can be understandable to anybody. Anyone can understand. That is why we have put pictures and simplistic language perspective, because converting the legal perspective into non-legal format is very difficult. So, content learning process plays a very vital role. Learning process, in human rights education, nobody should be forced to learn in this method or that method. It should be learned in such manner as that may be to be learned. Then field based studies. Well, we have to go to say, society and observe. Suppose if motorcycle accidents are taking place in a particular area, you may think, what is the relationship between motorcycle and human right? Well, when some person hits the other person, he has not discharged his careful duty of driving the vehicle, violated the right of other person and causing death to the other person, is also a loss to the family. That means you have a responsibility which is supposed to take care of the family of others, which you have neglected. You are responsible. That is why law punishes you. So, these are called as field based, where violations takes place, where various perspectives are there. All these things will be taken into consideration. Then observational perspectives. Observation. Well, observation means suppose a child is there at an elementary level. We can't teach human right means this is a right of human being, inalienable. A child will not understand. We have to say, you should not steal somebody's book. You should not beat somebody. You should have a good behavior. So, this observational perspective, when seeing one and another, definitely cultivate the habit. This is a psychological process which we need to cultivate the perspectives. When we could learn such perspective, observation means a kind of society, a particular group behavior can be observed, what are the synchronizes of this group and how are we going to deal with these aspects, that can be understood. Then the local aspects which are nearer you are all human rights aspects. That should be studied. There is no limit for human rights that you should study this way or that way. So, you can take a local problem and see how the international or national legal perspectives can be applied and settling these issues at a local level. National perspective, higher aspects like human fundamental rights that are given to you, or your responsibility to pay tax, or your other perspectives that you have towards the state, all these aspects can be dealt in. Like the Swachh Bharat, which is a movement of environment, it is nothing but human rights. It is nothing but promotion of human rights education. Regional aspects. Regional aspects here in the international purview, that is region of states like Asia, Africa, Europe. So, what are the problems within that region? The region state should try to address those problems and try to bring out issues that can be settled by themselves. Then goes the international perspective. International perspective, at the United Nations level, what are all the organs are there, and mainly the Human Rights Council, the Human Rights Commission, what work they do and how they deal with the various aspects, what is the role of General Assembly, what is the role of the Security Council and how United Nations can deal with it, and how nation states can work for betterment of the environment or settling their trade disputes or their personal conflicts or their border disputes, all are there. So, these perspectives are normally considered as formal methods. Then one important organization, the last one, is role of educational institutions and research. This is the most important. So, when we deal with the educational institutions, try to come out with innovative framework and do research, encourage research with a very minor minute aspects are considered, and how we are going to deal with these aspects. Then what is the linkage between human rights and other sciences? Now, normally people think that whether human rights has a concern for science, well, for a subject like physics, chemistry, biology, zoology, botany, computer science, or human rights have anything to do with the language like English, Telugu, literature, or Marathi, Kannada, whatever it may be. Or are they related to any cultural sciences like anthropology or the other kind of sciences like the music, musical education and other things? Well, human rights are linked to every discipline. They are basically connects with all subjects of the universe. You name any subject, human rights are there. For example, a biology student can come out with an experiment of modifying the genes and gene transplantation and various other perspectives. But the socio-economic right, cultural rights makes it very clear that you don't have the liability or the responsibility to do the various perspectives of doing various aspects. You have to confine your science only to a particular perspective. For example, eugenics have been created in the Second World War. Now, in 70s and 80s, after the invention of gene therapy, gene transplantation, polymily were created, organ transplantation has come into the various perspectives. Then Human Genome Project was initiated, but the United Nations said you can't create Human Genome Project. For example, the movie like Robo, where Rajinikanth created a robo which violated the human rights of human being. That is why in the movie has shown that end the robo and see it. So, your science should not go beyond a perspective. So, it has a link. Suppose a chemistry man think that what I am, or when you are preparing a chemical product, you are a chemist preparing a medicine. If the medicine has a different perspective of injecting or spoiling the blood or blood vessels in a body, well, the chemical science professor or the chemist or the researcher in chemistry is violating human rights. A physical science man, like nuclear bombs, atoms you create. You are not supposed to destroy the world. You have not created the world. So, you have no right to destroy the world. So, like this, every science, every subject has, in fact, recently highlighting the various perspectives of human rights, the United Nations and the Human Rights Council started conducting various workshops to deal with various perspectives and deal with various aspects of human rights education that need to be promoted with cultural perspectives, cultural issues and other aspects. Friends, let me conclude this lecture. I do not want to go into extensive debates, but the human rights education is very essential. It promotes the democratic principles. Human rights education develops the community skills, informed critical thinking that a human being need to develop and nurture a democratic values, and it develops the interdependence of universal brotherhood. This is the principle of international law which needs to be taken into consideration. So, that principle of international law is already there in Eastern perspective, particularly a country like India, where we made it Sarvamanva Saubhratatva. So, all human beings are universal and universal brotherhood. So, nobody is unequal in this society, all are equal, all need to respect each other, and human rights education teaches responsibility, motivation understanding the concerns of other and dealing with the society in a peaceful manner and progress together and have the sustainable development of humanity forever, not to degenerate your humanity and your science or anything. He is subservient of humanity. That is the reason why the Covenant on Socio-Economic Cultural Rights under Article 15 say all cultural rights, because in human rights language, science and technology are called as cultural rights. So cultural rights are subservient to humanity. So when this being the perspective, core issue of human rights education, friends, come not only just to study your human rights education in a simplistic manner just for your marks or grades sake, but what principles you learn, try to help and teach within your community, and that is the biggest asset of human rights education, which will create a huge democratic society for which the objectives of the United Nations, peace, friendship, or justice, liberty, equality, fraternity has been advocated as the fundamental principles of human welfare and well-being in every constitution will be promoted, for which human rights education is the only ideal principle practice that can connect everybody, every science, every subject, every creature, every person, living, non-living, legal person, non-legal person, everybody can come together and work under this one umbrella, that is human rights education. Hence, don't underestimate the significance of human rights education, and whatever you study, study seriously and try to see that how that you can use in promotion of human rights education, for which the Savitribai Phule Pune University has taken the steps. So let us cultivate as the first university in the country to inculcate the values of human rights education. Thank you all.